Welcome, everyone. Thanks for coming to Labor Forward today. My name is Erica Wills, and I'm an assistant professor at the School for Workers. I'm joined today by Justin Sosi, who is a staff rep for the United Mine Workers of America. And Justin and I have been working together. He was a wonderful host a couple months ago when I was on the Navajo Nation, collecting oral histories from the impacts of coal phase out and clean energy transition on miners, families, and the community. So he's joining us today to talk a little bit about what that looks like on the Navajo Nation, as well as public sector organizing that the mine workers are doing. So I really thank him for joining us today. Justin, would you mind starting by telling us a little bit about yourself, how you became a mine worker and what your current job is?
Okay, well, thank you, Erica. My name is Justin Sosi. I'm a representative with United Mine Workers of America, and I started. I became a member of the United Mine Workers back in 1998. I started working at McKinley Mine, which is located in the western region of New Mexico. I started in the mining industry as a what we call a shooter, basically a blaster at the mine site. I did that work for about 10 years, and that's when I was first introduced to being a member of the United Mine Workers. And thereafter, I started participating in my local union activities, meetings, and then that led me into being part of the health and safety committee at the mine and first responders and going to my meeting, going to the local union meetings and representing my fellow miners at the mine site. I was introduced at one of our local union meeting, my current supervisor, my boss, who's our regional director out here in the West, Mr. Bob Botero. And when he was asking for help on the Navajo Nation, organizing the Navajo Nation tribal employees to get union in their workplace. And I volunteered and I did that work for on and off Monday through Friday for about 5, 6 years, helping out visiting workers on the Navajo Nation. On the Navajo Nation, we don't have street addresses, so it's hard to make house calls to workers at their homes. So we had to make those visits at their workplace. So it was a little challenging here and there just because um, we had roadblocks where we didn't wasn't granted access or just the vast land that the Navajo Nation, because Navajo Nation is about 2,700 square miles, about the size of West Virginia, and it reaches into 3 states. Majority of it's in Arizona, and it goes into New Mexico and Utah. So visiting workers on the Navajo Nation, I mean, there were times it was hit or miss because businesses were done at the capital, which is in Window Rock, Arizona, and a lot of workers would time travel from their workplace to the capital to deliver papers, pick up papers, any type of work related travels, which was a daily thing. So there were times where we had to make more than one visit to make contact. So that's how I was introduced, became a member of the mine workers since 1998, being a health and safety committee member, volunteering from the local union to help out as a rank and file with the mine workers and doing house call organizing on the Navajo Nation. And which leads me today to where we are still trying to get all the local unions up to where they need to be with officers, where the local union is being fully functional. I mean, I started back in 2005 on this venture, and it's now 2024, and this drive on the Navajo Nation began before I started working at the mine, which was maybe 1996, 1997, sometime around there, when the employees of the Navajo Nation reached out to the mine workers saying, could you help us organize in our workplace? And and that's one thing that it's hard for people to see and understand, but we do as representative and as members of the mine workers, we understand the appreciation and the patience that our leadership has, from our international president, Cecil Roberts, to Brian Sanson, to the executive board, to our District 22 Vice President Mike Delpez, and Regional Director Bob Botero, and everybody else that helped out along the way. The task and how long it's taking us to just so that the workers on the Navajo Nation have that security, have that right to organize, have that right to have a union in the workplace, to where you don't have to feel the intimidation, to where you can have somebody sit beside you and say, you know what, we'll help you along the way. You're not in it by yourself. I mean, one thing that we tell our members and people that we contact on a day-to-day travel is mine workers. I mean, well, it's a brotherhood, it's a sisterhood, it's like family. I mean, once you become a member, it's a lifetime membership. I mean, no matter, I mean, we have here on the Navajo Nation where we've seen the coal mines. I mean, they've been there since the 60s, the 70s, but most of them are either closed or in reclamation mode now. And even though the companies have left the Navajo Nation, the local unions, the retiree local unions, are still functional today. And we still take care of our retirees, our widows, beneficiaries, dependents. And so, and then that's one thing that we try to educate our members, our new ones. I mean, there's still a lot on the Navajo Nation that still we still need to make contact with and get that word out and get that education out to them, because with COVID, that we had a huge impact with that disease on the Navajo Nation, and with the membership on the Navajo Nation and the employees. A lot of them took retirement, either early retirement, or there's been a good, maybe half of the workforce is probably new employees since then. So those are the ones that we still need to go out, make contact, reach out, and talk with. We did have a little hiccup on the Navajo Nation, if you could say. The previous administration, the current administration that we have, the presidency, the administration that we have on the Navajo Nation, understands and they allow the employees to exercise their rights under the Navajo Nation laws to bargain collectively, to bargain in good faith, and put the contracts back in place. But the previous administration, we had to sue the Navajo Nation because the Navajo Nation was bargaining in bad faith. They didn't want to sit down with us, renew the contract, or negotiate any or extend any of the three agreements that we had with the Navajo Nation. Even though the Navajo Nation employees have that right under the law, where, I mean, what we have here on the Navajo Nation is probably one of the most friendliest labor laws anywhere on the United States, where if we can get 50% plus one on petition or cards, then we go into immediate negotiations after certification. There's no need for recognition, election, or anything like that here on the Navajo Nation. So that's one of the most one of the good things that we have here on the Navajo Nation. So it's been a task. Yeah, it's a joyous task, I could say. I enjoy it. And it's a lot of miles, a lot of land to cover. But I do appreciate you guys having me on today and your visit out here, Dr. Wolves. And I mean, we were on the ground for 4 days, 5 days at the most, but I mean, we touch maybe just a little bit over a quarter of the Navajo Nation that's just on the western slopes. So we still have a lot of areas to cover and get your interviews done on on the eastern portion. So that's my introduction.
You. Yes, several of the people we talked to had been minors. Uh, we talked to several women who were in positions of leadership with their locals, which was very interesting because it was very much male-dominated locals. Most of the membership was males, but the women were in positions of leadership and had not only been minors, but had helped with the original organizing of the public sector workers. And so they were really wonderful in providing those multiple perspectives. One thing that I found interesting was when you talked about the executive branch being organized, the diversity of workers that are under that umbrella. Can you talk a little bit about the types of workers that encompasses?
Okay. Well, thank you for that question. Um, like you said, and like I said earlier, we have three contracts with the Navajo Nation. Um, my understanding from what I was told from our director when the drive first started was the Navajo Nation Office of Navajo Labor Relations, when the petitions were turned in from the beginning, we had challenges even then, to where the Labor Relations Office told the mine workers that it's impossible, it's undoable, because everything that we're doing today with the Navajo Nation is all new adventures. Because with the Navajo Nation tribal government, there hasn't been a union in place. This is our first, so everything that we're doing going forward is new. And at the time, the this the they were broken down because it's so big, so vast. Uh, the groups were broken down into five groups from the beginning. We had Head Start, which is Navajo Head Start. We had the white collar workers, the blue collar workers. We had public safety, and the professional paraprofessional group. Navajo Head Start, we have one contract. And then the white collar and blue collar workers, which is under the Navajo Nation executive branch, were combined and named the executive branch agreement. And then Division of Public Safety, which is our law enforcement on the Navajo Nation, was another agreement. So that's the three agreements that we have. The professional paraprofessional, we still yet to go after and venture and make those contacts yet with them. The first contract that we TA'd and ratified was Navajo Head Start, and that was in 2005. And the next agreement that we TA'd and ratified is the executive branch agreement, and that was 10 years later, 2015, in August. I believe it was in August. And then later that year, in November, that's when we TA'd and finally the first contract were for the public safety. And like I said, we had challenges with the Navajo Nation where we had to sue the Navajo Nation. So that was the first agreement. That was a 3-year agreement, and by the time expiration, when we had challenges with the last administration, they came into office, and the second agreement was not renegotiated until this past year. So, I mean, that is 9 years after with those two agreements. With Navajo Head Start, I believe it was our third or fourth agreement when we had them challenges. So, one thing that's unique with our culture and tradition as indigenous, as one of the indigenous nation, Navajo Nation being, we still use our culture, our kinship, or what we call clanship, how we introduce ourselves. Your first clan is of your mom's clan. Your second clan would be of your dad. then third would be your maternal grandfather, fourth would be your paternal grandfather. And that's how we introduce ourselves. And throughout this nation, and that's one thing that is law on the Navajo Nation is called the Navajo Nation Fundamental Law. It's a unwritten law, I guess you would say. I guess it's written, but it's passed down from generation to generation of how and what not to do as the Net people, as Navajo people. And that is, and that's we, and I use that in our grievance setting too as well, to where we have our contracts, our union contracts, where everything's written in black and white. And then we have now nation policies and laws. Then we have the fundamental law, to where we use what we call keh, which is kinship, how we address each other by relations. I mean, you may meet somebody for the first time, like that day when we were leaving the hotel there in Page. I met one of the housekeepers, and long and behold, she's the same clan as my mom. So that's how I introduce myself as, yeah, she would be my auntie by clanship. And that's what we use in the grievance settings, and how we utilize. And one thing that is taught is what we call nabikiyatke, which means you talk things out. You talk things out. And that's one thing that is I guess very important with our culture and tradition and our way of life here on the Navajo Nation. We still utilize that. So that we integrate that with grievances, and we very we you arbitration. It's very seldom with the tribal government. I mean, it is more seldom with the mining operations, but it's very unique and it's interesting in that sense. Why every day is a new day, new challenges, new things. So, and that's why I like it every day. I mean, and that's what drives me every day. That's what drives me to make that contact again with someone that is, and just to help them out, just so they can have that comfort of saying, okay, I'm not here in it alone. I mean, through the times from the beginning where we made visits. I mean, we've heard some heartfelt stories. I mean, you got workers that are shedding tears because of what they face in their workplace. So, um,
Yeah.
yeah, hope
I
that covered
think,
your question right there.
yeah, I think one of the things that I heard often during the oral histories too was that typically in the US, you may not think of the United Mine Workers as representing public sector workers, but because there was the support of the union and the union had a good reputation with workers and workers were familiar with the mine workers, that helped then as the mine workers went into organizing in the public sector. And that's increased as the mines currently, correct me if I'm wrong, there's no active coal miners represented by the mine workers on the nation. The retirees are doing reclamation, but not engaged in coal mining itself, correct?
In co-production, yes.
In coal production, yes. But the union still very much has a presence, a growing presence, because it was very, very respected. I think partially because what you said, the dedication and the time that the union gave to these campaigns and to shifting tactics to be able to reflect the cultural context that worked to be able to talk with workers and to organize them.
Yeah,
Um,
yes. I think that's one of the questions that was posed to us when, from the beginning, from the start, after the agreements were TA'd. Um, we had, at the time, we were told that the agreements had to go through the Navajo Nation Council, which is the legislative branches, the legislators, are lawmakers of the Navajo Nation, and through various committees as they were assigned by the Speaker of the Council at the time, we had to go through various committees with our sponsors and get the agreements passed. And you know, that question was posed to us by some of the council delegates is why do mine workers, these employees are of tribal government. They're not coal miners, they're government employees, they're Navajo Nation employees. And the only answer that we could give them at the time is, like I said, this began back in the mid 90s, and this was 10, 13, 15 years later, we're asked these questions, and the only answer we could give them at the time is maybe the employees had a family member or a friend or a relative or somebody that worked at one of the three mines on the Navajo Nation that were represented by the United Mine Workers, and they saw the representation that their family members and their relatives receive and how they were protected and how they were cared for under a union umbrella. And that maybe that's how they reached out to the mine workers and saying, okay, can you guys help us? Because not only do we, I mean, not only do we represent coal miners, I mean, we're outside of the coal field too as well. Today I am talking to you from the city of Gallup, New Mexico. It's one of the eastern side of the Navajo Nation, what we call the checkerboard area. Um, and we represent the city employees here in Gallup. In the western region here from my office, Region 4, we take care of our area is Western United States. And like, for example, we represent county workers, public works. We represent the bus drivers at the Denver International Airport, police officers. We represent nurses there in Trinidad, Colorado. Yeah, so we're outside of the coal field. We represent the public sector too as well. Um, and that was the question that was posed to us by council, and that's the only thing that we could respond back with is and how the mine workers is structured to where you have your own local union officers that come within your own workplace where you don't have to have somebody from outside to come in and say, no, what, this is how it should be done. It's the workers themselves that actually do the work day to day, the workers themselves that actually sit in their staff meeting, that took the same training and that knows how the tribal government work. And that's what I tell them today is once you become an officer, the work that you will do as a representative, you will do that work better than me because I'm not there with you guys day to day. I don't know exactly how the tribal government, the training that you guys receive and how the daily task is done. So that with the coal mining operations, yes, majority of it's male dominated, but we do have a good number, a large force of female women work miners too as well. We had three coal mining operations. We had McKinley Mine that was operated by Chevron Mining. Then the two Peabody operations on top of Black Mesa. You had the Black Mesa Mine and Kayenta Mine. Black Mesa Mine was the first one to close their doors and go and reclaim back in 2005. And then McKinley Mine in 2011, 2012, and Kayenta Mine, which is today they're in reclamation mode right now. And it has impacted our community, our family, and relatives that work at those operations, and not only the miners directly, but they had or captured customers where you had the coal that was supplied to the power plant was a captured or a singular customer. So once the power plant shut down, the coal mine shut down too as well. Uh, both operation with the Peabody operation both closed because of those two reasons. McKinley mine, it was just, I think it was cost effective that closed that one.
Yeah. There's really, as I spoke with people, two major impacts of coal phase out that I want to make sure we have a couple minutes just to touch on. One has been that I heard from everyone that I spoke to that no other jobs have come in to take the place of those coal mining jobs that have similar wages, benefits, that are good family supporting jobs, and that it's left a void that has had not only an economic impact but a cultural impact because, for instance, people whose children may have worked in the in the coal industry now are moving to Phoenix to find work, and so it's causing generational displacement that really has cultural impacts on continuing the Navajo Nation culture and being able to participate in family and community activities. And so that's one. And the second one is, even though the Black Mesa mines were open pit, there's still the legacy of black lung, specifically the silicosis type of black lung that is a major health impact that is impacting workers still with respiratory disease. So I just wanted to, if wrap up maybe to talk about how even though the mines have shut, most of them are in or have gone through the reclamation process, the legacy of that still has a real impact on the nation.
Yes, I mean, you're correct. The impact it has had by monetary, by families, relatives, have to leave the Navajo Nation, leave their homeland to find work elsewhere, and just so they can have that good wage, the good benefits, and and you have, like you said, the generation, the kids, the grandkids have to live with their mom and dad, where they don't have the teaching of the culture and experience that they have day to day here on the Navajo Nation with their elders. That's a great impact. A lot of the, I guess it's also the support, a lot of the business, the local businesses that helped and now that coal mines operate were affected too as well. And with black lung, yes, that seems to it's having an effect on our older miners today. And we do have one excellent person here on the Navajo Nation who is one of our local union president for the Kayenta mine, local 1924, Alex Osov. Um, he is a manager and director for the Black Lung office out of Chichimbito Healthcare, who's done an excellent and wonderful job for our miners, our retirees, every day, not only for UMWA, but all coal miners here in the Southwest region. And he's working with MSHA, he's working with the Black Lung organization, trying to get that office and program here on the Navajo Nation too as well. One of the impact is probably be the royalties, the money that came back from the coal, that came back from the power plant to the Navajo Nation, that's really affected or had an impact on the Navajo Nation. How do we replace that money that is lost for goods and services on the Navajo Nation? I mean, I don't think the Navajo Nation was impacted as much as the Hopi Nation. It's another Indian nation here on the Navajo Nation. Part of the mining lease was on the Hopi land, and I think majority of their operating budget came from the mining and the coal industry, and it's really impacted that nation too as well.
Mhm. Yeah, I think those are always important aspects to look at as we look at clean energy transitions and look at ways that we can learn lessons from the past, sort of cautionary tales. and make sure that there are economic opportunities developed and implemented to be able to create an actual just transition as we look at coal phase out and being able to maintain cultural, health, and economic standards within areas. So I think we are out of time, but I wish we had more time. I wish we could keep
Yeah.
talking because this is fantastic. And thank you so much. I'm really looking forward to the next trip out there. And I
Okay.
appreciate all your help with this, collaborating with you. You're such a wealth of knowledge, and thank you for sharing some of that with everyone today.
And thank you for the invite. It was a pleasure too. And yeah, I'm looking forward to it again.
Okay, thank you. Bye bye.
Bye bye.